Alright, so we are going to do an oil change on my 2001 Subaru Forester 2.5 liter single overhead cam. And yeah, let's get to it. So first thing after you get the hood popped, you're going to want to either chock the wheels, which I have not done because I don't have any, or just pull the e-brake, just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, to be safe. Alright, so the next step is you're going to want to set up your oil drain pan. So, Alright, so the bolt head is a 17 millimeter, and I'm going to use a 1/2 inch drive socket for that. Alright, so you're going to break it loose with your wrench, and then afterwards just take it off by hand until it starts draining, and then let it drain into the bucket. You can just set the drain plug on top of the little bucket depending on what type you have. Another thing I've kind of learned is if you're a little impatient, you can take the oil cap off and it'll allow the oil to drain a little quicker from the bottom. And you're going to want to wait until it's completely done draining before you put the cap back on, but you can take the filter off during or after you're done draining the oil pan. Alright, so I'm about to take the oil filter off, and before you do that, make sure that the oil pan or the drain pan is positioned correctly, because sometimes the oil filters can be in a weird spot and you might still have the drain plug open and dripping and the oil filter in a different spot, and you're going to end up getting oil on the floor. So you're going to make sure you do that. Sometimes the filters can be really, really tight, especially if you don't do them yourself. I've taken my car to a shop, and my mom has taken her cars to a shop where they over tighten like the oil filter way too much, and I actually had to end up stabbing a hole through her oil filter with a screwdriver just to get it out. And then once you get the oil filter off, just let everything drain and wait about like 10 or 15 minutes until it's completely done draining. Also, sometimes if the oil filter is too tight, you can use a filter wrench like this. I picked this one up at AutoZone for I don't know how much, but it works. They have them for different sizes, so if you have a bigger filter, you can buy a bigger one. This is like a medium range one, so it works for my truck and it works for the Subaru, but I've never really had to use it. Alright, so you're going to want to keep some paper towels handy for any overflow or splashing or anything like that, so you can wipe it off the floor or whatever. And once the oil pan is done draining, you can go ahead and put the plug back in. Just screw it in by hand for now, and then tighten it. Make sure you torque it later, or torque it right away. It's up to you. Let's see if I can get that one in. Okay. Alright, and once you get it in, you're going to want to wipe off the mating surface for the seal, for the oil filter. You want that all clean. Make sure there's no debris or anything on there that could affect how well the seal, or how well it seals. And then you're going to want to prime the filter and put it on there, and I'll show you guys how to do that here in a sec. Okay, so you're basically just going to get your filter. If you see that, get your filter and some of the oil. Open it up, stick your finger in, and just put a light coat around the oil ring right here, just to prime it up so it can get a good seal against the bottom of the block. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and put it on the car. Alright, so once you have made sure that your mating surface is all nice and clean and you've primed your filter, you can go ahead and just screw it on And just hand tight is good enough. Anything tighter than that and you're just going to over tighten it and you can risk blowing the seal and leaking oil, which is no good, especially when you're driving on the highway. Alright, once you've put the oil filter back on and got the drain plug already, you're going to want to get your oil. I got Mobil 1 full synthetic 5W30. The owner's manual recommends 5W30 and I just like synthetic. So you can get whatever brand you want as long as it's 5W30, depending on where you are. Sometimes, like if you're in Phoenix, I live in Phoenix, but it's cooler now in this part of the year, so I don't have to worry about it as much. But if you're there in the summer, sometimes the manual suggests that if it's over 104 degrees outside, like average, you're going to want to go with like 10W30 or 10W40, I believe. It's in there. There's a little, like a little graph that tells you. But this motor, the 2.5 liter, it takes 4.2 quarts, I believe. So I just bought a 5 quart. And yeah. Alright, so if you're kind of impatient like me and you wanted it to drain faster, you've already taken your cap off. But if you haven't, go ahead and take your cap off and set up your funnel so you can pour in your oil. Alright, so since this is 5 quarts right here, you're going to want to, these little marks mark each quart. So this bottom mark right here is 1 quart. And if you have 4.2, that means you're going to be left with 0.8 quarts, which is going to be right around here, just above like half a quart, somewhere in there, closer to the mark. Alright, we can get to filling this baby up. Just careful not to spill too much. And if you go too fast, sometimes it'll fill up the funnel. And you just got to go kind of slow so it doesn't overflow the funnel. And remember, you're not going to want to pour all of this in there with a gallon jug. So once you feel it start getting lighter, you think it might be close to a quart, you're going to want to stop pouring and check. Make sure it's pretty level. I'm still above 2 quarts, so we'll keep pouring. Probably another half a quart to go. Nope, not yet. Almost. One more, and we got it. Okay. Now once you're done pouring, you can go ahead and take the funnel out and then put your cap back on. Make sure it's nice and tight. Might be a little slippery if you got some oil on your hands. Once you've got the cap back on, you filled everything up, you're going to want to start it and check for leaks. So it's running and I don't see any leaks around here, so I'd say we did a good job. Alright, after you've run it and checked for leaks and everything and got all the cap back on, you're pretty much done. You just want to double check the dipstick level, wipe it off first, stick it back in, and pull it out. So right now I'm actually full, which is great. So as long as you've checked it, make sure everything's okay and you're not under, you're good. And if you're way too over full, you're going to want to drain some because you can start blowing seals and your engine will leak, and then you got to start rebuilding everything and it just gets way too expensive. So save yourself some money in the long run and just make sure you double check everything.